Hi everyone, I'm Swathi from Indiahikes and you're watching Trek with Swathi. If you're here watching this video, then I'm assuming you're here to understand how to prevent or stop motion sickness, especially while driving on mountain roads. Well, welcome to the club, because I have been suffering from motion sickness for as long as I can remember, right from the time I was a child. But over the past 8 to 9 drives that I've had in the mountains, my drives have been completely motion sickness free, completely vomit free. So I've been using some tips that I've heard from here and there, and I kind of gathered them together and they've worked beautifully for me. So I thought I'll share some of them with you so that you also can avoid motion sickness. So let's get started. My first and most important tip for you is to sit in the front seat. No matter what kind of vehicle you're in, whether it's an SUV or tempo traveler, try and hog that front seat because it makes a world of difference. This is something I learned almost by chance, because once when I was driving to Lohajung, one of our base camps, the driver told me that the back seat is occupied, you sit in front. So I went and sat there. I was very hesitant because I didn't want to fall asleep and I didn't want to throw up next to the driver. But I sat there waiting for the motion sickness to come, and it never did. And I realized that this was because my eyes were directly on the road ahead of me. I could see I had a proper view of the road in front of me, and I could prepare for every turn, every swerve, every dip that came. So this was not the case when I sat at the back. So when you're sitting at the back, you're usually looking left or right outside the window, and the scenery is zipping past you, adding to your sickness, and you don't know what's coming ahead of you when you're looking outside the window. So your body doesn't really know how to adjust to the road that is coming ahead of you, which is usually the case otherwise. So avoid the window seats at the back. Choose the front seat as much as possible where you have a clear view of the road in front of you. Very interestingly here, there is a very big role your inner ear has to play. So your inner ear is responsible for managing your body's balance, and it sends out signals to your brain about which direction you're facing. So when your body is not able to see where you're headed, your inner ear is very confused and it sends the wrong signals to your brain, and that kind of triggers this motion sickness that you usually feel when you're sitting at the back. So when you're sitting in front, your inner ear sends the right signals to your brain, and you can actually have a normal drive where you don't feel motion sick. My second, and again another very important tip, is do not use your cell phone while you're sitting in the car. This does not apply only to the driver, because everybody tells the driver don't see your phone. But even if you are somebody who suffers motion sickness, avoid staring at your screen, because when you're looking at your screen, one, you're in a bumpy car drive, so your screen is bouncing up and down as you're looking at it. And second, again, you don't know what direction you're headed in ahead of you. So you need to keep an eye on the road ahead of you and not on the phone, because once you're looking at your phone, again your inner ear kind of gets mixed signals of what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go. So avoid your phone at all costs, especially while driving in the mountains. My third and almost common sense tip is eat light when you're going to travel. This is because you don't want to overload your digestive system, especially when you're already on a sensitive mountain journey and your body is sensitive to it. I usually try to take my own dabba with some curd rice, so that is what sorts my stomach out. So if that suits you, take your own food, what you're already familiar with, so that you're not giving your body new flavors and new things to digest. So eat light. And if you're feeling really sick, don't eat at all. It's okay to skip a meal and you can just lie down in the car. So keep it light and keep it simple. My fourth tip for you is that try and occupy a spot where your body movement is restricted. So whether you're going in a car, whether you're going in a bus, a tempo traveler, see if you can find a spot where there's a handle that you can hold on to, or maybe you're wedged in between two people, like the middle seat in the back of a car where you have a view of the road in front of you, plus there are two people, so there's not much movement. The basic theory is that the more your body is moving and flopping about, the more sick it's going to get. So try to restrict that movement as much as possible. My fifth tip is that you try and distract yourself. because when you're getting into the car, you're already thinking motion sickness, and the more you continue to think, the more you're going to start feeling it also. It might be some sort of placebo, but you will start feeling it. So distract yourself as much as possible. The best way to do this is have conversations with those around you. I usually chat with the drivers or whoever's there in the gadi and hear their stories of 27, 30 years, so that I am distracted and I'm continuously in conversation with someone. Otherwise, there's always Antakshari to fall back on. So make sure you distract yourself. Don't continuously think about the sickness that you usually experience. My sixth tip for you is that you let some air into the vehicle that you are in, because lack of ventilation does make you a lot more nauseous. Plus, if somebody throws up within a vehicle that is not ventilated, the smell of vomit will again make everybody else want to throw up. So avoid that. Keep your windows rolled down. That fresh air really makes a very big difference. And for the same reason, avoid AC vehicles also in the mountains. Almost all Indiahikes vehicles you see do not have AC for this particular reason. A lot of people suffer from motion sickness, and just having that window down makes a very big difference. So keep the windows down, let the mountain air in. That fresh air makes a very big difference. My seventh and kind of last ditch effort tip is that you take an Avanamin and knock out if nothing else works for you. So Avanamin is a tablet which contains promethazine. What it basically does, it sends signals to your brain's vomiting center to avoid nausea. That's what it does. It also acts as a sedative, so you usually just fall asleep. So maybe half a tablet before starting out on your journey will really help. Of course, after a light meal is what you should have. I would really say that this is the lastest thing that you must do if nothing else works. So keep it as your last resort. So those were my 7 tips for you to prevent motion sickness, especially while driving on mountain roads. I would say 6 tips because I don't really want you to get to the last 7th one. These 6 tips have worked for me beautifully over the past many mountain drives, and I've had absolutely no motion sickness in the mountains. So I hope they work for you. If you have anything else that has worked for you, then please drop in a comment, let us know, because we're all curious to know what else works to avoid motion sickness. And if you have any questions also, you can drop in a comment and I'll get back to you. You can also write to me on tws@indiahikes.com and I'll help you out personally. On the other hand, we have a lot of other videos about mountain travel, about treks, about different trekking trails. So make sure you follow our YouTube channel, hit subscribe and the bell icon next to it so that you don't miss out on any of our videos in future. We'll be back with more again soon. I'm Swathi from Indiahikes and you're watching Trek with Swathi.